Hi, it's Ricky of Moshville Times here once again. Now, I will admit this is a new one for me, as I was offered this opportunity to have this interview by Steve Saunders of Spreading the Disease, or STD. They must get up to fun and games with that name in the tour. But that should have been enough to give me a warning. But when I do my research for James Shaffer, I thought I was actually interviewing Monkey from Corn. So when I had to try and find some research on you, James, I had to scroll that wee bit further down. But thankfully, I have the better James Shaffer with me tonight. So first of all, I've just got to ask, how the devil are you, mate?
Well, I'm not Monkey, but guess what? I actually get emails for him from young girls from everywhere,
Yeah, you know.
and I know him, so I have to forward this stuff to him. So his girlfriend, his wife, doesn't see the stuff.
I hope he pays you good wages as his secretary. Yeah. Uh,
Yeah,
Unbelievable. But I feel that like this is going to be like an episode of This Is Your Life. It's an old show here in the UK, as we'll be talking about you and the different roles that you've had in the music industry. So it's just going, I've just got a few questions about everything that you've done in your career, if that's okay with
yeah,
you.
yeah,
Uh,
it's fine.
but firstly, though, you live in the good old US of A. How the hell did you hear of spreading the disease?
Well, I was flipping through Facebook one day, and I no, actually, I met Steve through the Hedra guys because the band Hedra, Jim
Yeah.
Hedra,
Yep.
we kind of I was on Facebook with them, talking back and forth, blah blah blah, and, talking about bringing them to the states,
Yeah.
and so he basically introduced me to Steve, and we hit it off, had a great time, great conversation. So I've continued that for the last bunch of years,
Yeah. Yeah.
and been trying to help them get some things going in the U.S. It's been a rough road because it's what kind of like Spinal Tap.
Yes. I was going to
There's
say,
these,
like,
these
spreading.
these musician things that keep going on with his band.
Yeah.
Hopefully now that's all over. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
It's funny though, there seems to be a common denominator in when spreading the disease goes tits up. There's a common denominator in there somewhere, Steve. But anyway,
he's out of the room again now.
is it? But now that you've met Steve, do you regret the decision with spreading the disease?
Oh, not at
No.
all. I love these guys. He's
Yeah.
got a really good lineup now. They're all really nice, super cool guys, really good people.
Yeah.
You probably couldn't be a better lineup for what he's doing. I mean, they're all a little bit strange, you know,
Yeah.
but I'm used to strange because I've been doing this for 45 years, so I'm definitely used to strange.
I thought you
You
were
know,
actually 45, but never mind. I must have read that wrong. I'm dyslexic with numbers, you see, so maybe you're 54, but never mind.
no,
Uh,
actually, I turn 64 next Monday. So
and
my last show with these guys before I go home is my birthday party,
it's going
and
to
I
be
actually
messy.
booked my flight 2 days after that, so I would yeah, so the hangover would be gone by the time I get on the plane and go home. I highly doubt that's going to be true, but I had
I,
to do it that way just to please the wife.
I thought you get wiser the older you get, but we never learn, do we?
Well, not us in the music business. So I guess, yeah, I grow up. What's that? My daughter's older than I am.
So what's
More mature anyway.
yeah. So what's the plan with you being over here in the UK then? What made you come over to the UK? Obviously, I know the answer, but if you tell our listeners, like, so what are your plans when you're over here in the UK?
Well, I've been over here a bunch of times on tour with other bands, but I'm over here this time specifically to work with STD,
Yeah,
to mix sound for their live shows,
yeah,
which is basically what I mainly do. Is I'm a live engineer, I'm also a producer in the studio, but
yeah.
mainly a live engineer. So we had a horrible first night, and we had an amazing second night. So far it's been interesting.
A mixed bag. Was it Blackpool? Was it Blackpool the good gig?
Blackpool was a great venue, but their audio system was crap,
Yeah,
and that's an understatement. I had a 24 channel console analog that I think 4 channels worked on.
Okay.
We had no monitors on stage. I mean, absolutely none.
Okay.
Nothing. Yeah, we're still wondering what happened to them, but we had no monitors, nothing, and so it was a difficult set. Fortunately, it was short. We got the hell out of there, and
Yeah.
went back to the hotel and sat in the bar and drank for a while.
Disgusting, disgusting. So how many more shows are you going to be taking in while you're over, do you think? Is another 2 or 3? Is it a half dozen, 10?
We have 3 more this coming weekend. Is there any before that? Oh, okay, yeah. So I'm only here for 3 more shows.
Okay.
I came at this time because it was the most concentrated part of their run with Hedra.
Yeah.
The most shows in a short period of time that I could actually get over here and do.
Yeah.
Talking with Steve about going in and listening to their stuff in the studio, because I'm going to possibly be producing and mixing this new CD if I can ever get the tracks from the guy who's working on them now.
Is it going to be an EP or is it going to be an album from STD?
It's going to be an EP first.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing what these guys do, because as you've said, it's been a wee bit of a turbulent career, but hopefully this is now Steve all settled and the band are settled and we get a peak performance. But now that you've taken in a couple of venues, a couple of shows, what would you say in terms of the audience or the venue or the bands themselves? How would you compare it to your scene in the US, your local scene?
Well, if you want to know the truth, so far what I've seen, the venues are a lot smaller here.
Yeah.
As compared to what I would do like in the bar, like the bar scene or the club scene over there. I mean, my average, I work with some local bands that, play clubs here and there, once in a while.
Yeah.
And, the average club size over there starts out at 250 and goes up to almost 2,000, depending on the club. They're usually not smaller than 250 to 500 people.
Yeah.
So, and those are what we call a venue that you might even get A-list artists to come through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So some of the bigger club artists, bands like Bullet for a Valentine, or bands like that will come and play a 500-seat club. They charge a lot of money for the tickets.
Yeah.
But at least they're playing a club where they could pack it in and have a great time, still make good money, pay enough for the bus, get fed,
That's what I was going to say. Sometimes the bands prefer the smaller venues because it's much more in your face.
Very true.
And if the audience aren't doing anything, then I've seen plenty of band members going in the crowd and start pits themselves and things like that, So, but yeah, no, that's great. Thank you. But I also noticed that, I hate to tell you, I did stalk your Facebook profile. I thank you very much for accepting my friend request. And I also noticed that you've got some ties with Lemmy of Motorhead, and they even rode on your Harley Davidson. So that must have been like a surreal moment and something that you'll always remember.
The photo.
Yes.
You saw the photo. Yes, I toured with Motorhead. I was their monitor engineer, mainly in the United States. I came over here a few times with them, but it was more shows that I do at Motorhead were US and Canada.
Yeah.
Oh God, they were loved in Canada as well, because being from Montreal, that was like hometown for me. It was great playing in Montreal.
Yeah.
But picture Lemmy on my Harley. That was on the 20th anniversary tour.
Wow. Was he sober enough to actually ride it, or? Was he sober enough to actually ride it, or just sit on it and that was it?
Oh, he rode it around backstage. Rode it out into the club and then back, but not during the show. But like during sound check, and I let him. He got off and let me go. I said go. So he rode the bike. That was cool.
Yeah, in their heyday, every year Motorhead played the Glasgow Barrowlands, which is the best venue in Glasgow up here in Scotland. You've got like 1,500 standing You've got an excellent bar. It's easy to get a drink. You're not standing for 20 minutes trying to get a drink and stuff like that. It's the best venue. And he stated it was his favourite gig of the year.
Which venue was that?
Glasgow Barrowlands.
Oh, okay. I've heard of it, but I haven't been there, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been to Glasgow, but I haven't been to any venues there. I was just there visiting.
Well, the next time you're up in Glasgow, just ask someone where's the bar is, and I'll show you where the Barrowlands is.
Yeah, my father had some friends up there, and we went up to visit some of his old military buddies.
Yeah. Yeah, but again, I've done, ever since COVID, I've done like a number of interviews, and I've interviewed a guy called Tim Atkinson of Leader of Down, who along with Wurzel formed that band way back. So I just when I saw that Lemmy picture, just I've got to mention Leader of Down, because I've interviewed. It's just a link with Wurzel and things like that, you know. So it's really, really cool. But yes, I have stalked you a wee bit, and I have noticed that you've had multiple roles in the music industry. So I'm just going to like pick your brains about a couple of things.
Sure.
Probably a very, very simple question, and I know the answer to this, but just for those that don't, what is the difference? I've looked at your CV. So what is the difference between a monitor engineer and an FOH engineer?
Well, the FOH engineer is the guy who's out in the main room controlling sound for the house. A monitor engineer only does sound on stage for the band, so they can actually be able to hear each other and be actually able to play.
Yeah.
Because if you're on stage right, you can't hear the guy who's all the way over on stage left.
Yeah.
You're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
So that's what a monitor engineer does, is he sends signal and sound to whoever in the band needs the other guy in the band, or whoever in the band they need to hear to be able to do their show right.
Sure.
Most drummers always want lots of bass and guitars in their, in their wedges and in their speakers.
Yeah.
So I'm the guy who sends the drums and the bass, and the guitars to their speakers behind them. And, same thing, wherever on the stage, wherever they need it. That's what a monitor guy does.
And the front of house guy, does he basically just do absolutely everything in terms of like making sure the merch guy's okay and making sure the crew's doing what they're supposed to be doing?
No, that's a tour manager. There's three major roles as far as all that goes. You got a tour manager who basically runs the tour, runs the business.
Yeah.
Right. So he's the guy who handles the tour bus, handles the hotels, handles making sure the band gets to the venue on time.
Make sure the band's got Jack Daniels.
Yeah, making sure the band's got Jack Daniels, and or whatever else they want. Condoms. The production manager is the guy who handles the production. So he is in charge of making sure that all the sound and lighting, staging, and all that is proper.
Yeah.
Then you have a merch person who basically that's all they do is just handle merch. They bring it in, set it up, sell it, get the hell out.
You've done all three.
So I've never had the merch job. I don't want that job.
I bet you've had a few headaches doing those roles though, over the years. It must be stressful doing everything.
The tour manager job is the big job, and it's also the worst because you're the last person to go to sleep and you're the first person to get up in the morning, especially if you're on a bus. My phone would start ringing at 5, 6 a.m., with people calling me about the next venue and, what time are you, blah, blah, blah. I have to start advancing the shows.
Yeah.
That entails basically it's basically calling, the venue promoters and or production team and or catering team. So I have to make sure the catering is proper. I have to make sure production is proper. I have to get bus parking. My day starts out about that time. And of course, I'm usually not going to bed until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So that makes for a very long day. It's an average of 16 to 20 hours a day as a tour manager.
Wow.
To put up musicians
and then I have to put up with asshole musicians like Steve.
Yeah.
Who always are giving me a hard time because they don't think I'm doing my job right. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and if the show goes off well, then it's a different thing. You get your praise, that's what makes me feel good, and that's why I do what I do.
Still getting
Absolutely.
shit.
And he still gives me shit.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I thought bands don't have egos, but it's plainly obvious that Steve Saunders beside you, since he's chipping in here, has an ego.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got to nip that in the bud and just tell him, get it sorted and just get out there and play.
At least it's not a bad one. Yeah.
That's why you go.
Yeah,
Boys.
and you notice the bottle's empty now.
Yes, yes. He's feeling brave now that he's had a drink, isn't he?
Yeah.
But having also
That
been
does help.
yeah. Having also been monitor engineered for so many huge bands, including Metallica, Andrew WK, and Van Halen.
Yeah. Van Halen, I was half stage monitor engineer, and I was monitor engineer assist
Yeah.
to a guy we call Ring Dick. His name was Sean Webb, and he's actually an airline pilot now. Kind of like Bruce Dickinson, he plays in a band, but he flies a plane. But this guy actually went off into commercial service and started flying an airplane, and then just got out of the business. Yeah, Van Halen that was a little different.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, but with you being a mixing engineer and an FOH, a front of house engineer, did that was the next logical step for you to become a sound engineer in the studio?
I actually was interested in recording and producing before I actually started doing live sound.
Okay.
And I was also a keyboard player. So I actually started out as a keyboard tech and recording engineer, way back in the day.
Yeah.
I'm an old guy. So,
back
doing
in
it a while.
Early 2000. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Before Gen X, not really. Whatever you want to call that. Anyway, I really had my eyes focused on being a keyboard player.
Yeah.
But then, my dad, and being Canadian, living in Canada most of my life, my dad talked me into going into the military.
Okay.
So I spent some years in the Special Forces in Canada.
Okay.
So I messed up my arm. I got shot, blah, blah. Well,
I tip my hat to you, because it's something that I would be scared to do, see World War III, unfortunately, is just the touch of a button away, so it's absolutely
Putin scares the shit out of me, man.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's
All
great.
right, then.
That's great, James. Thank you very much for that. But one of your many talents is to produce and engineer recordings at Master Groove Recordings in Nashville. So how did all that come about? Is it your studio, or are you part of a consortium, or were you invited to produce and record there?
Well, it's a long story, and I'll make it as short as I can.
The stage is yours. You can talk long if you want.
I was living in Los Angeles, and one of the bands that I was working with way back in the, far ago, was recording at a studio called Master Groove Studios in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Now, this was the studios that weren't a lot of the 80s rock bands that came out were recording there. Yeah, my partner David had a lot of bands that are well known even today that were in and out of his studio all the time.
Yeah.
So I was mixing a band live called Slippery Lip.
Okay.
And they were, just an LA based kind of glam rock band, whatever you want to call it, but kind of something like what would be New York Dolls, but without the underwear. Okay. Without the underwear, pantyhose, and the boots. So, and there was a really hot chick who was the lead vocalist too, so that helped. But yeah, that was the only reason I was there. But anyway, it was they were a great band. They had good songs.
Yeah.
And the guitar player, just friends with everybody. He knew everybody in LA, and I had just moved there. So, This is going back into the early 90s.
Yeah.
And so he took me to the studio, and there was one guy from Overkill was in there. Bobby
Gustafson. Gustafson.
Yeah, Bobby Gustafson. And then the Chris Holmes from Wasp was in there. And I was a big fan of Wasp. That was back in the early days of Wasp, right? So I met
Wankers and
Chris
sexual
Holmes.
perverts.
Yeah. So we just started talking, and I'm sitting in the lounge area of the studio, and we started just shooting the shit, having a conversation. And David walked in and goes, "Hey, blah, blah, blah. Hi, I'm David. I own the studio." Blah, blah. And he said, "We're about ready to start. So you want to come in?" And I was in there to basically do the tracking and mix. David is a mastering specialist. He works for Sony Records.
Wow.
He's been their top mastering engineer for all the artists that Sony has for many, many years.
Yeah.
But eventually, so I'm trying to make this short as hell. David, we hit it off. We became friends. I went back in a few times with a couple of the bands to record and, do some tracking and stuff. And eventually, I basically moved out of LA and went to Florida, where my dad was. I went to New Orleans first, and then Katrina hit, and I went to Florida.
Yeah.
When I really got tired of Florida after just a couple of years there. And, David had...
Was it too hot?
Hot, muggy, stupid fucking people and tourists and old, the average age there is 65 and up.
I was going to say, one of the youngest there, were you?
Well, I ended up moving back to Florida because I started working for Dickie Betts and the Allman Brothers. Dickie Betts and Great Southern, they were based out of Florida. So by accident, I ended up moving back. But anyway, Nashville happened because of my dad passing away. And so I had to go handle some family business and things like that.
Yeah.
He had, a part of our family stuff and home and all that was in Tennessee. And my aunts and uncles were there in Memphis and Nashville. And so I had to go handle family things.
Yeah.
I did that. While I was there, I found out David had gotten in touch with me through his ex-girlfriend and said, "I'm in Nashville." So this is really crazy, but we were living 3 miles apart from each other and didn't know it.
Small world, isn't it?
Yes. Nashville's a big city.
Yeah.
But, we were out in a suburb of Nashville called Fairview, and we were literally living like just a couple miles away from each other and didn't know it. But when we hooked back up, he had just he just bought a farmhouse out in the country and had just started building a recording studio in it. So I went in, bottom door, like right off the bat, went in and helped him start building the studio.
Wow.
And eventually it turned into like a full-time thing, just getting the studio done. I mean, I have pictures from day one until now.
Yeah.
And it's progressed so much, but we don't do a lot of stuff there because he still is doing things for Sony and, mixing, mastering for Sony. So a lot of the work that we've had in there has been clients that I brought in as far as live bands, I brought in a band from New Orleans called Acadia. I mean, I brought in Jimmy Miles, who's a country artist. We had some pretty big people in the country music business working with him. We've had other people come in that I've worked with. Joe Vitale, who's Joe Walsh's drummer, came in for some session stuff with another band. We've done some pretty good stuff there. Quite a few well-known.
You took the words right out of my mouth, because when I done my research and my prep, I noticed that there's been gold and platinum albums, there's been Grammy Awards and winners. So
well, I'm actually the only Grammy Award winner there. I have a Grammy, but David.
What was that for?
That was actually for the movie Heavy Metal.
Brilliant.
That came out in 1982.
Wow.
So that was like
Was
the
I here a
first.
wee bit further out here then?
Well, it humbled me a little bit because, I was one, we had 28 producers on that movie, music producers, people that brought in music and redid recording, re-recordings, this, that, mixing, mastering, blah, 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 brought in, bands like Sammy Hagar, Black Sabbath, blah, blah, blah.
Wow.
All the bands that were involved in that thing were just, it was crazy how many bands there actually were in that movie.
Yeah.
No, not many people who actually even know that. How many good old rock and roll bands and classic rock bands that were from the 70s that were actually on that movie, the Blue Oyster Cult.
And Black Sabbath
I mean,
are still at it. And they're back at it
oh
again.
yeah, well, kind of,
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it was those were the good, to me, those were the great years, the good years for me. The late 80s, you know, those were the
Absolutely.
fun years.
Yeah,
Those
absolutely.
were definitely,
But when it
yeah, the
comes
fun
to
years.
like master groove recordings for yourself, like what is your ultimate goal when finishing off a product before you're satisfied with it?
My ultimate goal is for the artist to be happy with what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But sometimes, even if the artist is really happy, if I'm not satisfied with what I'm doing, then I'm going to take it a little bit further and I'm going to spend more time on my own. Just, get it to perfection. Perfection
Yeah.
is the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
It's not always the artist who has the best ideas. So that's being a producer. That's why I do what I do, because sometimes I think my ideas are better than what the artist has. And
Yeah.
of course I incorporate that into my mixes and and all that, tracking and mixes. And we take it from there,
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's really, it's hard to let a product go out on the market that if I'm not happy, I don't care if the artist is happy with it or not. If I'm not happy with it, I'm going to sit there and argue with them and tell them, fuck you, you're not putting this out until I'm happy with it. And when I'm done and ready with it, that's when you're going to put it out.
So is that something that you've said since the late 80s, early 90s, even to the present day with Steve Saunders? I'm not fucking happy with this.
You'll be getting our single in about 10 years' time.
But
No, listen, he's got a really good band. I've been hearing a little bit of the stuff that he sent me some stuff that, is in the studio now being done.
yeah.
I can't say much about it yet because I haven't heard it properly in my ears, like in the studio. I need to go sit in the studio and listen to it. Otherwise, I am not going to really, I can't even comment on it because I haven't been there yet. So,
Yeah.
the songs are great. I mean, they're killer songs. It's a good hard rock, head banging, stuff that I love. I mean, I listen to all kinds of music, but the metal stuff and the heavy stuff is what I love the most, and that's why I like working with it.
Good.
I would rather make no money and go out and mix Steve's band and make shit tons of money and go out and mix like Metallica or somebody, because even Metallica has great songs, but that's a different world.
I'm glad you see it from low expectations.
Yeah, I was
You heard
actually
what
going
he
to. Yes, I did. But I was actually going to talk about Metallica. But before I move on to following on from what we were talking about, I have to, because this is appropriate now. Boys to fucking men.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That took me totally by surprise.
Okay, so I did Mary J. Blige too.
Yes, you did. Yes,
which are kind of along the same lines.
But you know what? I actually
haven't-
watched a Boys to Men video, and it had like 609 million views. So
they were huge. They're still big.
Yeah,
They have a residency in Las Vegas now.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they're making $150,000 a night playing at some casino in Las Vegas when they're there. But I mean, it's kind of crazy.
And I bet you the fucking mime. They've their voice is broken or something like that.
Well, when I was with them, these guys could really, I mean, they're great players. they're just so clear and powerful, and it just trained voices that
Yeah.
these guys have worked and worked and worked for over the years. And they put out songs that made them millions.
Yeah. Yeah.
They did very well.
Yeah.
And every show that we played, every show that I worked with them on was sold out. Every show.
All joking aside, full respect to them.
That goes to say something right there.
Absolutely.
But I mean, I did when I was in Japan with them. Oh boy, we had Steve, your dog is taking off with my cable here. He's got a wild child here, man. Anyway, no, I really had a really good time with those guys. I had a lot of respect for them.
Yeah.
People that normally look at me and go, "Hey, heavy metalhead, hey, work with Boys to Men? You got to be kidding me!" Never. Actually, I did, and they paid me very well. They took very good care of me, and they were a good bunch of guys.
Yep. All joking aside, full respect to them. They done what they done, and they done it very, very well. So fair play to them. But going back to Master Groove recordings, and when you have your finished product, but if somebody was to come up to you and say, what would you say is the definitive James Shaffer and Master Groove sound? What is it? What's your state? If I was to come to you and say, like, what would I get from you and what would I get from Master Groove? Why should I come to the studio? Because
you're going to get better sound and better return for your money than just about anywhere else.
Yeah.
You can go downtown Nashville and pay crazy money and get a shit producer.
Yeah.
Just because the studios have a name, because they're run. But Nashville, I have to tell you this real quick. Nashville is run by what we call the Billionaire Boys Club. All right. There's 3 guys in Nashville who are billionaires who basically own everything.
Right.
They own the recording industry there. They own the clubs, all the clubs that are downtown on Broadway, that where all the tourists go to see their, go to hear country music bands and blah, 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 and have a good time and go party in Nashville. These guys own everything there. They even own the Grand Ole Opry, which is country music's like big spot, right?
There is a Grand Ole Opry in here in Glasgow, by the way. We're still going. Just thought I would say.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, well, link off.
Country music?
Absolutely. I've never been to it.
Scottish country music or country music?
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, so Nashville's a problem. That's why I ended up leaving Nashville, is because I got tired of, playing other people's games, and it's like, realistically, if you're in Nashville and you don't work for them and you're in the music industry and you don't have something to do with that, like a record producer like me or a sound engineer, ever, I could go get a job at a club there in a minute.
Yeah.
But that's not what I want to do.
Yeah.
I'm a producer and I'm an engineer and I'm also a touring guy. So, I come from a different background than a lot of these people do.
Yeah.
I'm also older than most of these people. But which doesn't bother me because I'm still doing what I do. I'm turning 64 next week, and I'm still having fun doing what I do. And to me now, it's not about the money; it's about living my life and doing what I want to do.
Absolutely.
If it was about the money, I wouldn't be sitting here right now.
I bet Steve is frowning at you at the moment.
Yeah, he's over here like grumble.
The sound of the sound that we did at the Duffers, that he did for the Duffers gig, that was absolutely fucking amazing.
Wow.
I've never heard like bands sound that good in a club. Ever.
Even with like a fraction of the equipment that you're normally used to.
Oh, you're tiny. It's a tiny room with a small PA, but I had both bands sounding great. I didn't do the opening act. I didn't do the first band, but I did Hedra and then STD, and everybody just said it was, they were raving about it. And I don't like to tap my shit on the shoulder all the time, but that it did sound good that night. It sounded really good. It's probably not my best work, but for a room like that, when you got limited stuff to work with, it was good. Yeah, and all the band, everybody in both bands were just happy, and that's what makes me feel good is when I hear those kind of comments and compliments coming back to me from especially two bands. I mixed both bands.
It makes it all worthwhile, doesn't it, when you hear these comments?
Yeah, that's why I do what I do, because I like it's music. It's what I love the most out of life, except my dog.
What about your girl? Your partner?
No, the dog. I love my wife. My wife is so cool. My wife's a deadhead. She follows the Grateful Dead people everywhere she can, and she loves music. And this is why we get along so good, because she's heavy into music, and I'm not big into the Grateful Dead. I like some of their stuff.
Yeah.
Casey Jones, driving that train, high on cocaine, blah blah blah. That takes me back to the old days. But anyway, so yeah, it was those days were great. But my girl's I got a good woman and a big fucking monster dog and a beautiful house, in northern New Jersey in the woods. I got bears that come up on my driveway to eat the apple trees.
Apple trees.
Yeah, I have apple trees right along the driveway, and the bears come out of the woods and come up and eat the apples off the trees in the summertime. Wow. I had deer, fox. I mean, there's so much wildlife around there. That's what I love is, being able to be home, be comfortable,
that's why to show you, like, you started off as a 16-year-old. You must have started off like a 16-year-old, not knowing what to do with life, and you might have accidentally fallen into something, and it's led you to where you are just now. You might have been at the right place at the right time, and it's led to where you are just now. But there must have been a fuck ton of dedication, a fuck ton of hard work, and a fuck ton of lack of sleep.
Lack of sleep is definitely a big part of it. I've really, any industry or any business you have or whatever, there's good times, bad times. There's ups and downs.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of both.
Yeah.
It's not an easy business to be successful in. It's probably the hardest business to be successful in.
Yeah.
So I've stuck with it because I love it. If I didn't love it, I probably would be fucking selling cars somewhere, something stupid like that, or selling cocaine to a bunch of hookers or some shit. But
or like sitting behind a desk with a grey suit and a grey tie, eating grey slob or something like that.
I don't know about the suit and tie. I don't think I could ever do that. I have a phobia about ties.
Good stuff.
Yeah. So.
Still sticking with Groovemaster Studio then, is there one piece of equipment that is the backbone to your particular sound that you couldn't do without?
Right now, I would say probably, Steve said my ears, which is very true, because, I have perfect pitch in my ears. I haven't lost any hearing, even with all the loud, crazy ass bands I've worked with over the years.
Yeah.
I have a tiny, tiny little problem at one frequency in my ears, which I get checked about every 6 months.
Okay.
At 4K. But anyway.
Is it Steve's voice and just blah, 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 blah?
Yeah. He's over here. Yeah. He's grumbling at the dog because the dog's driving and it's nuts.
Dog's gonna be a flipper in a minute.
The dog's gonna become part of the furniture shortly, or go for an airplane ride real quick. But yeah, she's gonna become part of the rug, or a rug.
Cool.
But anyway, as far as a piece of equipment, that's hard. That's a hard one. I've never had anybody.
Say, for example, your studio was broken into and they stole one piece of equipment, and that was you completely. But you couldn't do it.
The computer.
Yeah.
Yeah, the computer, because our computer is the central piece that runs everything in there.
Yeah.
Fortunately, we have a backup.
Yeah.
We have actually two backups. Because especially in that studio, being in Tennessee, just outside of Nashville, there's a lot of bad storms.
Yeah.
So we get lightning, tornadoes. The weather could get horrible there. So we have to make sure we have everything protected. So if we're doing a session and a bad storm comes through and a lightning hits, or a tornado comes through and tears down the power pole, whatever, our power stays on.
Yeah.
Because automated generator that kicks in, it doesn't stop the flow of power.
Yeah.
So, I would definitely have to say it's got to be the computer. I mean, other than that, it would be the console or the in-house monitors that I listen to, because that's the final process of actually producing a record is how you listen to it, what you're listening to it on. So we have 6 different types of speakers in there, including car stereo speakers, like in a little room where so basically we're listening to, JBLs, Tannoys, the Genelecs, all kinds of stuff. I mean, we literally have 6 different listening systems, so we can go from one to the other, to the other, to the other. Then the last of the process is taking it out and putting it in the car and listening to it in the car stereo in the car. That's like the final test.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the MOT.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I'm wrong in saying this, but the Master Groove Studios, is it like you've got a guitar room, you've got a drum room, you've got a keyboard room, you've got separate rooms for pretty much
everything is separate, even though our control room acts as a double room sometimes for, the guitar players will sit and do their tracks over, like when we're doing playback, they're recording guitar tracks. Sometimes they'll sit in the master control room and do their tracks, or the bass player might do that. But we have a vocal booth in the master room, which is separate. It's got a glass mirror window in it, and we can see the guy singing. We have closed circuit TV, which shows us every room at the same time. We have a drum room, which is, it's just solid drum room. I mean, it's acoustically. Our studio is built acoustically correct. This is why it's taken so long to put it where it is now.
On the map, yeah.
Every room is built differently. The keyboard room is on solid wood floor, like wooden panels. All right, with solid walls, blah blah blah. But the vocal booth is the only isolation booth. The guitar rooms which actually helps the sound of the guitars, are in the basement in cemented cubicles. So it's like cinder block.
Yeah.
All the way around, and it's just so flat, so dead. And it helps the thickness of, especially if you're doing metal bands, it helps the thickness and the warmth of a really good guitar sound in those rooms downstairs.
Yeah.
So everything is separated out. We actually have keyboards in the control room, guitar amps. We have probably 30 different kinds of guitar amps, that we can just give to whoever's coming in. We have lots of guitars sitting on the wall. We still have the capability of doing analog in there because we have a 2-inch, tape machine, and we have 2 tape machines in the main control room. One of them is for tracking. One is for mastering. That's old school.
Yeah.
My partner David right now is actually remastering all the original stuff that Warrant did back in the 80s.
She's my cherry pie.
Yeah, that's it. Obviously one of the songs, but I mean, he's remastering all that stuff right now for the attorney who basically, and the bass player Warrant, who's I think the only guy who's still alive.
Yeah.
He's redoing all that stuff for those guys, so they have everything on, remastering it in analog, but also turning it to digital as well, so they have everything digital. You know.
I've had the pleasure. I don't know if you know him. His name's Dan Sueno, from Unisound Studios. He's based. He was from Sweden, but he's based in Germany.
That name rings a bell.
Yeah, I'm into. I like my death metal. And he does mixing and mastering. But I'm just wondering, with you explaining all the different equipment that you have, all the different rooms, you're probably talking a large space. But one of the things that Dan Sueno does on his website is he puts his prices as to what he charges with mixing and mastering and anything else that he can do for you. So bands know upfront what it would take. How easy or difficult is it for like local bands, for example? Because that must be an expensive place to run. But
well, it is, but we also work with, if local artists like, up and coming country artists or whatever out of Nashville area want to do something, we give everybody a break. We're reasonable guys. We're not, like I said, we're not out to get rich on this.
Yeah.
If I was looking to get rich, I'd have got the fuck out of this business 50 years ago.
You would still be
Before I
working
even
with
got
Boys to
into it.
Men.
Huh?
You would still be working with Boys to Men.
I'd be out touring with them so I could make some real money, but
wouldn't be doing this.
I wouldn't be working with these guys.
But
anyway, but I mean, we don't advertise our rates because we deal with a lot of the same artists, but repeat customers. They already know what's up. As far as new artists, we'll work with anybody. We're reasonable. Like I said, we're going to work with anybody, but our lockout rate for a day minimum is $750 a day. That's not including the 2 engineers that go with it. That's another, $750 a day on top of that.
Okay.
So it's about $1,500 a day to operate our studio.
Okay.
But we are extremely reasonable with, like I said, new artists coming up. And I brought bands in there for $300 a day. That I just, I wanted to help them out because
you're interested in the project yourself.
Yeah, interested in the project. I like the songs, and they're nice guys, and they live right down the road. Didn't have to put them up in a hotel. Didn't have to worry about catering and the food and all that, all that shit.
If they ask in the right way and they show respect, then that speaks volumes. That's when you can get those kind of incentives.
Yeah.
But you talk
we do. I mean, we still do have some very well-known artists that come in and out of there. I mean, I just rattle off real quick some of the projects that have been to master groups like Aerosmith, Guns N' Roses, Motley Crue, Edgar Winter. It just the list is long. Warrant again.
So do you feel like an apprentice when you're working with spreading the disease? Do you feel like you're starting out again?
No, because I like these guys. He's my buddy, and I like being around him, and I like the band, I like the music, and I think that there's potential there, and that's something else. If I didn't think that was there, then I probably wouldn't be doing that. I might still be out with them live, but as far as the studio, I'm not going to waste time on something that I think is just being a waste of time.
Yeah,
I have a new artist out of Canada who's a female vocalist. She's a blues artist, and woof, she's hot.
Well,
she's hot.
I know exactly who you're talking about, but don't say any more because I'm coming to that. All right, I'm coming to that.
Okay.
Yeah. But just your last bit about the studio then. And you just said a minute ago with bands coming back and back and back, but with bands coming back time after time, how easy or difficult is it to look at their previous output and make it better? Is it because you've got more experience, you get to know the band's sound, or the fact that you have new, more up-to-date equipment to play with?
Well, I'm always listening to, especially return customers and, repeats. I'm always updating myself and familiarizing myself with the new stuff they're doing. I don't really compare it to the old stuff because I could give a fuck less what's going on 10 years ago. I want to make what they're doing now the way they want it, the way I need it to sound.
Yeah.
So comparing things is not one of the best things to do in the music business. It's if you look at the past, you can go. I'm not saying I'm comparing this to like influences or whatever. That's something different. That's what you like, what you live and learn, and what you believe is, there was a great band 10 years ago, but now they're everybody has their own opinions about everything. Absolutely. Obviously, especially their influences.
Yeah.
So I try not to work too much around, with that. I work around it or past it.
Absolutely.
So I'm basically somebody who, I look to what's next and how is it going to affect what they're doing? how's it going to affect what we're doing with them, and make it the best we can. And obviously, I told you I'm a perfectionist. So if I don't hear what I want to hear the way I want to hear it, if the band's happy, I'm not happy until I'm happy. And that's just the way I am. I'm strictly that way and that way alone.
Have you pissed Steve off yet? Like saying, nah, I'm not happy with this. I want more. I know you can do more. Get it sorted.
Yeah, he's working on it. I keep pushing him to get the studio guy who's working with them here to get the shit done, so I can have something to work with.
Well, I've been mixing literally just had the first draft of the next single come in about an hour and a half ago. So I've done a sort of, we do a kind of a little dance backwards and forwards for about 24 hours. And so
yeah, they do it over the phone back and forth, and listen, and
do that, change
that. See, I don't do things that way. I want to be there.
This time I got James here to be able to give it a listen to and some advice. So that's what I will be asking him.
Yeah,
soon.
I can't edit like that.
Yeah.
Now, here's a big difference with my things is technology is just incredible these days.
Yeah,
I actually have a system with David where I can sit on my laptop and mix in real time at the studio in Nashville, no matter where I am in the world.
Wow.
I have the studio in my laptop.
Yeah.
What's there? So when things come in, and he says, okay, we need to sit down and do a mix, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm on it. I'm on a laptop. I'm looking at the studio right in front of me, just as he's seeing it sitting there in the studio.
Wow.
And I'm in. And I do the thing.
I mean,
it's literally like from here to Nashville, it's literally like 2 millionths of a second difference.
Are you scared how frightening this is?
Huh?
Are you scared as to how frightening this is? Like you could be.
It's a little scary.
Yeah.
It's a little scary, but I mean, it's still at the same time. I mean, technology, AI is like, I don't know what the hell the world's doing with AI, but I don't want anything to do with all that crap. I'm just fine doing what I do. I'm not a computer genius. I'm not a computer freak. I know how to work what I need to work, and that's what I do. Believe me, if I didn't need a computer to do my job, I probably wouldn't have one.
Yeah.
I'm serious. I'm dead serious because I hate these fucking things and I hate technology, even though it just seems that that's the way things have to run today. How they have to work. So,
yep,
got to deal with it.
Absolutely.
We'll be going. Usually, I would go in and mix, myself with the engine.
Yeah.
We're now running late, thanks to him. So I just like mix.
Not thanks to me, thanks to the other guy. The
other guy who's having you there, James.
Yeah, the other guy in the studio here. Yeah.
So I'm having to do this back and forth little dance on this particular track. But it's going to be worth it, man. The videos that I knew, I'll talk to you on another interview about all that.
Yeah,
we definitely will. We definitely will, mate. Because I noticed that you'd done a video a couple of days ago or a week ago or something like that. So you're getting a lot of shit ready. You're recording, you're doing your videos. So the time for doing the interviews is coming. So
it is.
Yeah, the video's cool. Video's nice.
I know you're dreading it.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to having the band having an interview and just taking a piss out of you, Steve.
Good. Somebody needs to do it. You're ready.
That's great. Thank you very much for that, James. But another feather in your cap is that you're also involved in band management as well. So apart from STD, of course, another band that you're all over management-wise are Sugar Line Blue. So how did this come about? And do you concentrate managing like local bands with all your experience, or are you open to anybody when it comes to like band management?
I'm open to anybody. Sugar Line Blue happened to be friends of mine from Nashville. And I'm not really doing much with them right now per se, because they've kind of 3 people in the band have lost family members in the past few months.
Wow.
So they've kind of just put a damper on touring this year and everything else, taking a break. You know, they're still recording and doing this and that, but I'm not concentrating on them. However, I have another blues artist from Canada that I'm very interested in. And she, you know, it's kind of like a female Joe Bonamassa.
Okay.
So she's got one of the most powerful voices that I've ever heard. She fits right in with, you know, blues artists like Grace Potter and people like that.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful voice, very powerful songwriter. All the hooks in the right place, you know, that everything is just I've been working with this girl for 10 years, and it's been one of those things where I've been basically, she knew nothing when she started in this industry.
Yeah.
Now I have been coaching her as a vocal coach, as a business manager, as a producer, and all that. But, you know, she was able to get people in Canada to work with her because the Canadian government gives a lot of artists in Canada money, you know, to do their thing.
Yeah.
But since I live in the United States, even though I'm Canadian and American, but since I live in the United States, she couldn't pay me to go to Montreal to produce her album.
Okay.
So how this is working is I'm doing it, you know, a lot of it over the phone as a guide, as a, you know, business partner kind of sort of thing. But yeah, I think this girl is going to be, she has such great talent. I think she's going to be huge.
How did that come about? Like, did she contact you out of the blue, or did you see her live one day and you went, I need to get to know this person, or how did it come?
Well, I worked with her drummer in another band in Canada many, many years ago.
Yeah.
And you know, see, he played in a couple of very well-known Canadian bands. I don't know if you've ever heard of Sword or not. But I toured with Sword, opening up for Metallica on Master of Puppets.
Wow.
So he was the drummer in the band, and when she hired him, you know, being Montreal local people, you know, she got a hold of him through other people and hired him to drum for her. And he called me up one day and he goes, "You got to hear this girl. She's just incredible." So I had a listen. Back in those days, you know, 10 years ago, she was very green. She was new, very inexperienced. I mean, just really just needed help, but I saw the talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I decided to see what I could do to make some kind of a deal where I could stick with her and guide her and coach her and, you know, and continue to work with her and see how it progresses.
Yeah.
After 3 years, 100% improvement. After 5 years, 1,000% improvement. And now after 10 years, she's got stuff that's just incredible.
Excellent.
You know, so I'm really, really trying to push her and see if we can make some good things happen.
Excellent. You know? Well, that kind of like follows on to my next question, because what would get your attention from a younger band in terms of them asking you to become their manager or their sound engineer? Because we know STD are not that younger band anymore. But what would you say to younger bands to get your attention and to get your guidance?
That's a big question, but basically, you know, when I see perseverance, when I see dedication, I obviously have to hear the quality of music. I mean, you know, I have to hear talent. I have to hear something that I know is going to move forward.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bands that approach me that I basically just say, fuck off, you know, and not like that, but, you know, I'm polite about it. But, you know, I don't have time to take on this guy, that guy, this girl, that girl, and everybody else, just, you know, because they all want a management company or they want a record deal or whatever. I don't have time for that. I'm going to deal with the people that I know that I see potential in.
Yeah.
So if the potential's there and the attitude of the band members as a whole has to be there, and it has to be like, you know, even if they're not professional, they still have to have that want and that drive.
Yeah.
And that means they have to, you know, they can't sit around and wait for somebody to do their thing for them.
Yeah.
They have to work today, with the way the record industry is you have to work at what you want for what you want. It's not like the 70s or whatever, where, a record label would hear a good band and go, oh, let's give you some bunch of money and, give you a tour bus and buy, it doesn't work that way anymore.
Yeah.
The record industry is so tight. Most people are doing sync publishing type deals, 360 deals with, labels that they're charging you, but at least there are things getting done in the right direction.
Yeah.
So I have to see the interest of the band themselves showing me that that's really what they're driving for, and that the talent is there. And then I can go, okay, this could be a good thing.
Yeah.
And I could take on somebody with those kind of attitudes and those things in place, where I know that I could actually take them in the studio and produce a great project that can really do well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, like in the Scottish, like the death metal scene, for example, in Scotland, a lot of it is do it DIY or die. So do it yourself or die. So when it comes to artwork, they find their friends to do it. They release their albums themselves. There's, to the extent that there's now, for the first time in donkey's years, a pressing plant for vinyl up here in Scotland. So that's been used. They just do everything themselves, and there's some attitude like, we don't need a record label. We can do it perfectly ourselves. We can organize our own
realistically, you don't need a record label.
Yeah.
I mean, record labels are there. I believe, in my opinion, record labels are there these days for mainly the pop artists. Having a record label behind you is a great thing.
Yeah.
But not everybody's going to get that, no matter how hard you work. So yes, and I fully agree with the way that these bands are doing things, because they really need to work themselves and promote themselves, social media, this, that, however they're doing it, but digital distribution, everything.
Yeah.
There's many forms. Now, things like Spotify, screw that. Spotify is worthless. I mean, you get 15 cents on the 30,000, and it's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
And the guy who owns this is making billions and billions of dollars off of bands that work their asses off for nothing.
Yeah.
And that's a shame, because that's ruining the record labels and ruining their industry. So I totally back the bands that really push themselves and do the work, not, like I said earlier, not sit around and wait for somebody to hand you something on a platter, because there's too many people that are doing that these days. Like the kids in the United States, especially, they're rich daddy, rich mommy, whatever. They're running on mommy, daddy's money. They're buying into festivals at $5,000 a pop. Their music is shit. They suck. But they're getting on these festivals because the headliners and the festival people like Live Nation, people like that, are selling these slots to these bands that are crap just because they come up with the money to pay for it. It does nothing for these bands. It does nothing. The only thing it does is give the 2 or 3 headliners of each one of those festivals or whatever the money to pay for their bus and their dinner and and their partying after show, and drive down the road, go to the next gig. That's all it's doing. Giving the headliners their options and their money to pay for their tour. And I really just have a big problem with that. So unfortunately, that's
the way it is.
Do
you know something?
It's really
I could speak to you all night, but I really do appreciate the time that you've taken to spend with me. I've only got like a few questions left, but like I said, I do appreciate the time that you've been on. But it's just, with being a tour manager, what you've kind of explained this earlier on. I was looking for like, what are the responsibilities that you have to undertake to keep the band happy on a lengthy tour? I was going to follow on by saying that I'm about to put on my first gig myself in October, and it's stressful when you think that nobody's got money to splash out in these times.
Right.
And it's just, how much of a role is social media compared to the old days? And do you think do you wish it just remained the old days where it was like word of mouth and handing out flyers and stuff like that?
Oh,
And
I wish this was still the 70s because, you know, bands, I put this out on a post book on Facebook not too long ago. And I basically said, you know, if you have in the 70s, bands that had talent were the ones that were getting record deals.
yeah,
They were the ones who were being followed. They were the ones who have, you know, I mean, it wasn't a problem to advertise these shows because the bands were great. And, you know, the record labels were bringing out bands that were really talented and really good. But
yeah,
then again, you didn't have the competition of 5,000 bands, you know, that were all crap trying to compete with them. The record labels were the ones who were going after the talent and supporting the ones who had the talent, who they could find, you know, and those bands were getting the record deals. They were the ones who were going out making money. They were the ones who were out touring,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So today, it's social media is one of the things that has, I think, really, really destroyed a lot of the music industry. Even though it's necessary to have it today,
yeah,
because in this market and the way things work today, if you don't have it, you're not going anywhere.
yeah,
You know, a record label won't even look at you. YouTube, I mean, you know, things like that, blah, blah, blah. They won't even look at you unless you have so many subscribers on a YouTube channel
yeah,
or so many followers that are here or there or whatever. But, you know, it doesn't matter what size it is or what site it is, excuse me.
yeah.
But they don't look at you unless you have super crazy numbers. You know,
I
I
know.
mean, you're there. There are so many good, talented bands out there who could really be doing really great things. They're not because of the way social media runs and the way that the record industry is set it up. So basically, yeah, if you don't have this, then you're not getting this.
Yeah,
Blah blah. Yeah, I mean, you know, that's
yeah.
really basically that's the bottom line. You
I,
know.
I get you completely. But I was wondering what you thought about COVID as well. The times where we were locked in our houses for a year, 18 months and stuff like that, we couldn't go to any gigs. But then gigs were open again, but it was just local gigs. Have you seen a massive difference in local scenes in terms
Oh
of
yeah.
like, people
I,
flocking to see local bands now?
I know so many bands that just disappeared,
Yeah,
retired, gone. And I'm not talking just some local bands. I'm talking some, you know, big major.
yeah, that's it. You're back. The volume went there when you were mid-sentence, but you're back now.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, I know of a lot of bands that, you know, were fairly decent sized A-list artists who were out touring when COVID hit. You know, everybody was shut down, nobody could travel. My recording studio, basically, because a lot of my artists couldn't travel to get there.
Yeah, yeah,
I would deal with a lot of European artists, you know, artists from Australia, Japan, all over the United States, and they couldn't even get on a freaking airplane to fly to Nashville,
yeah,
you know?
yeah,
So we went dead in the water for a while,
yeah,
you know, except for some of the local bands who actually could still, you know, I mean, if you're going across Nashville, the other side of the city, you know, get in your car and go, we're going to go over there and do something and record. But you know, I mean, it really hurt everything.
So did you have the yellow tape out in the studio? Right, you've got to stand there, you cannot move and all that, yeah?
No, we didn't do that because I'm one of those guys that I never got a shot. I never got vaccinated. I could give a shit less about all that bullshit because I think it's all a bunch of crap.
Yeah,
And you know what? I haven't been sick in 35 years.
fair play.
I haven't even had as much as a cold or a flu. And I've been around all that. People who said they had COVID, rah, 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 you know. I mean, I'm still healthy. You know?
Well, I hope it stays that way, mate. I hope it stays that way.
Well, so do I.
You talked a wee bit about touring there, but I'm just going to ask a couple of wee one-off questions. Like, so what was the best ever tour that you've ever been involved with? I know the answer to this, but let's see if you can remember.
The best ever tour I've ever been on?
That you've ever been involved with?
1988 Monsters of Rock.
Yes, yes, yes. Um, What I can't believe is when I look at that poster is like Metallica were the second band on. And it was Kingdom Come, is it? Or
Kingdom Come was the opener.
Yeah.
So I mixed 4 out of 5 bands on that tour.
Wow.
Plus, I was working for the sound company.
Yeah.
So I actually had 5 jobs on that tour. I was doing monitors for Kingdom Come, monitors for Metallica, monitors for Doc, and the only band I wasn't working with was Scorpions. And then, the last band on, Van Halen, I was working with them too. So it was a busy day for me every day.
Yeah.
Um,
You would live it again, wouldn't you? You would love to do it all over again. You would love to do it all over again.
Well, I would love to, but unfortunately, I'm getting a little old.
Yeah.
Actually, I lied. I'll never be too old to do that. Like Lemmy, my good friend from Motorhead,
Yeah.
never too old to rock and roll. I'll be doing this until I'm done.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
don't think I'll ever retire. I think I'll just maybe slow down a little bit more and go more towards in the studio direction than live, because just of
So you're a wee bit
getting
more
older.
selective about what projects that you'll take on, whether it's FOH, whether it's monitor engineer, or whether it's a studio,
Oh, sure.
whether it's
Yeah,
managing you.
definitely. I mean, if you have seen any pictures from the Monsters of Rock tour of Metallica, if you can go back and look in the videos of the tour, because it's all over YouTube and all that, right?
Yeah.
I was informed at Christmas time this year that I'm on the wall in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Wow.
With Jason Newsted. Big picture right on the wall of Jason, with his bass, and I'm like in a monitor desk right behind him. And I didn't know that. It's been there for apparently a few years, but I never knew that. And that was like a big shock for me. But my buddy called me up. He said he was walking around Rock and Roll Fun. He said, Metallica stuff. He said, dude, do you know that you're in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame with Metallica? And I said, no. And I said, well, what are you talking about? He goes, he sent me a picture of it, snapshot. So I was like, oh, geez. Well, that's cool. Great. But either way, I've been, I've been blessed with some of the things I've been able to do in my life and my career. And then again, it's always an up and down road. I mean, this isn't always the easiest business to be in.
Yeah.
Do
you know, I was going to say you're a lucky man, but you're not a lucky man because you worked your arse off to get to who you are and what you've done and where you've been. It wasn't luck at all. You've earned your way each step of the way, So a tip and a hat and respect to you, and there is a hint of jealousy in there, but I know that I'm still considerably younger than you, so I still have a chance. I will get there. But I've got 2 other questions. Is there one band, past or present, that you would like to do sound engineer for, tour manager for, or anything for? Is there a band that you just idolized but you never had the opportunity to do anything with?
Judas Priest.
Move on to the next question then. That's it.
Straight out Judas Priest. I actually know Rob Halford.
Yeah.
But we've never connected like business wise and all that. And, I mean, I've wanted to work with those guys I worked with them a long time ago, but my friend who was their engineer back in the late 70s and early 80s, his name was Gunji. Yeah. He was like the 7'1" tall, crazy pothead from Hawaii. Obviously, his name was Gunji. Anyway, we spent a lot of time together, doing stuff, but I helped him bring his first Midas consoles in the United States back in the day. Not long after that, he got sick with cancer and he passed away. And so that was really sad, and it hit me hard. But anyway, after that, they ended up with a couple other engineers who I thought were horrible, and I probably could have gone in there and just blew smoke right out of the door. I wish that I could have gotten a hold of Rob at that point in time, because we kind of lost touch after Gunji passed away. Because I think that he probably would have taken me out, with the band, and now he's still out there doing it. Absolutely. And now I'm still around right now trying to hopefully reach him again to see if I can, possibly go mix them before my career winds down and ends, as a live engineer,
Well,
that would be the ultimate for me.
all it takes is one email, doesn't it, or one text or whatever.
Well,
Was there a wee bit of
yeah,
an
but
opportunity when Halford, was it a fight he done as a solo project? He done a solo project when he took time out of priesthood.
Fight.
Was it a fight? Yeah, I was just
Fight.
wondering if
it was called Fight.
yeah,
Fight.
yeah. So I
Like
was just
fight. Let me beat up Steve over here.
don't worry, I'll be
And you
on.
know what? Fight did 2 albums. They were a great band. They were really powerful. They were really hot. But you know, it didn't last long because of the other members of the band. It wasn't Rob's thing. He was, a priest guy. That's what he wanted to do, and that was his thing. So yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, if I could reconnect with Rob and get back out there with him, I mean, that would be my ultimate thing for sure.
Well, there you go. There you go. Get it sorted. I've got a phrase that I just said to Mark, the co-owner of this radio station that we do, Moshville Radio, and it's just fucking do it. GFDI. So that's what I'm saying to you, sir. Just fucking do it. Get it done.
I'm working on it.
Send our love to Mike, man. To Mark, man.
Yeah, I will do. I don't like him, to be fair, but I will pass on your message.
Well, we've all got our bugbears, right?
That's it. That is it. Excellent. Thank you very much, James. And once again, I appreciate the time that you've spent with me. I do have the one last question for you. And we're starting another 40-minute section of this Zoom call because I think this might take up the 40 minutes. But with all the major artists that you've worked with, you must have tons of memorabilia. But what kind of things do you have, and what would you say is your most treasured possession?
Treasured possession, a Grammy. Other than that, I mean, my daughter probably has 95% of everything that I've collected over the years because I just continuously send her stuff in boxes from tours, and I don't even really know. I mean, I can say this: I have a guitar that Slash gave me.
Wow.
Signed as his special model Les Paul. And I also have a guitar that Lemmy from Motorhead gave me that was also a Les Paul version. Autographed, obviously, all the Motorhead guys on that. This is when Wurzel was in the band.
Yeah.
So it's going back a little ways. Other than that, I have a bunch of stuff, but I don't really know what I would actually say would be my most prized possession.
Have you ever thought of going to like Pawn Stars and see how much it's worth?
No, that I haven't done. That didn't really even think about it. Listen, I'll tell you this: about 5 years ago, I was in the process of moving, and I had my whole house, recording studio, all my keyboards, my amplifiers, my guitars. I had 16 guitars, like 30 keyboards, amplifiers, everything that I owned, really, basically, in a moving truck. And this asshole that I had known, a drummer from a band that I had dealt with back in the day, got together with my ex-girlfriend and scammed me and took off with my moving truck with everything in it. So I lost a lot of stuff that was really precious to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going into like family photos and this kind of stuff and that kind of stuff. I mean, just things that were precious to me, over the years. And I lost a lot of it just because of this dickhead. But other than
even the fucking STD, like fucking limited T-shirt, he lost.
Yeah, somebody in a gig bag had all my spreading the disease stuff. I had just got it. Just from him. It was all in a bag with T-shirts and a hat, everything in a bag. And I had some equipment in the bag and all that. And I was at a gig and somebody just walked off with the bag. So those kind of crazy things happen, in this business. And
that's your most prized possession being taken away from you. Your most prized possession.
That's right.
Yeah, totally. So he's got another one now. You better look after it. Well, next time he's getting a thong.
Yeah, do we get a shirt or something from your show?
No.
You
I'm
have any?
sorry.
Do
No.
you have any?
He's wearing
In the works. In the works.
Okay.
But yeah, so no, absolutely brilliant. But yeah, I hope they were caught, and I hope they get their hands chopped off, because I cannot stand thieves. It's the scum of the earth, absolute scum of the
That's
earth.
right.
That happened if I had my house burgled.
Oh
and
well,
that is nothing.
they've already kind of there was already some repercussions about that,
Remember, you're
and
on.
and it's not done yet.
Right, cool. Cool.
I've had people I know, bikers and everybody else is how much do you want to kill these fuckers? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to go that far, but maybe a broken knee or something.
Yeah.
But
Good.
no, anyway, it's really bad that people do that kind of shit, and
Yeah.
you don't burn bridges in this industry. And of course, he was in a band that I helped out like 30 years ago, helped
Yeah.
him get a gig, and then he just
Burned you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So-
But karma always comes round. So
that's right.
yeah, yeah. I'm just going to end this since we've got a wee bit of time. If you had a son or a grandson that wanted to follow your footsteps, what's the piece of advice that you would give them?
Don't.
I did ask a silly question, didn't I?
I have a daughter who's actually, she's a little bit of a musician, a little bit of a French punk rocker. She lives in Quebec, sings in kind of part-time in a kind of like an all-girl female punk rock band in Quebec.
Yeah.
But she's mainly an artist, and and she's also going to school for criminal forensics. So
Wow.
yeah, and I'm proud of her. I mean, she's doing really well. She's also one of the biggest pot growers in Canada, which is how.
Remember, you're online.
Yeah. Well, it's legal there.
Well, true. So it is.
Totally legal in Canada. Everything there is legal. Nothing. Pot is totally legal there, completely.
Yeah.
So, not going to get her in any trouble. Anyway, or me for that matter. But no, I mean, no, I love my daughter. She's a great kid. She's smart, and she's doing really well. 32 years old, and decided she wanted to go back to school. She chose a couple of really good subjects to go to school for, and now she's I just got yesterday information that she got a job at one of the major forensics labs in Quebec City.
Wow.
And started full time there. So I'm very proud of her. She's doing good.
It's always good to have a plan B, isn't it? So, so she'll be doing the band things at the weekend and working Monday to Friday and in the big bucks.
I think that's probably gonna fall aside, side of the road, because I know she had her fun for a little while, and I think that she's seen a lot of the things I've been through.
Yeah.
And doesn't want to have to go through the business end of things, and any of the bad shit that she's seen me go through.
Yeah.
So she's a smart girl. She's doing good, and I'm proud of her again. I think that she's made a good decision for her life. I wouldn't suggest that for everybody. There's some people who are cut out for this industry, and some who are not.
Yeah.
If you're not cut out for this industry, go do what you're cut out to do, and to do what is natural for you and what makes you happy, and how you can make money and make a living and take care of your life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
But if you are serious about being in the music industry, it's a lot of hard work, a lot of dedication. It's not easy to do. And if you can do it and that's what you want, more power to you. And I wish you Godspeed.
You know what? That is an absolutely perfect way to end this interview. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. It's the first time I've met you, and it's the only interview that I've ever done that's been over 4 parts. Slange to you, and I wish you all the best of luck, and I hope that I do see you. I hope that I do see you in September. I hope good things do come with spreading the disease. They've had their ups and downs over the years, but hopefully it'll just be going one way, and it's the ups. And with your guidance, I'm sure that they'll get there. So big things are going to be coming from these guys.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it and moving forward with things that are going on right now. I think there's a good chance of a lot of great things happening for them.
Yeah,
And
we've always seemed to had like, good reviews, good support, good shows, good, I mean, constantly moving forward. But
Yeah,
we just had 100, it's been a revolving door.
the spinal tap syndrome again.
People
We talked about that a little while ago.
when we looked
Yeah,
at
people in and
spreading
out,
the
man.
disease on Metallica, you've got like Steve Saunders and then past members and blah, 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 blah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Along with the self-titled and Wicked Stone, all those
Right.
guys, we're all the same, man. I think I played with nearly every Kent musician on the dead down here.
No, great
Well,
stuff.
yeah, we're looking forward to good things, and I'm sure those things are coming, especially once we get this EP done. And
Also
move forward with
helped a lot of those buggers too over the years.
that.
Yeah, absolutely,
Well,
man, absolutely.
I'm
But-
hoping that I see you in Scotland when the dates come up. And I realize that's September, but between now and then, hopefully I'll be there.
Yeah. Well, if not, it's been an absolute pleasure to meet you, and a drink
And
to your
you as
good
well.
health. But yeah, hopefully I will see you in September. And by the way, it's your round, so that's all I'll say to that.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Cheers to you, Ricky.
Cheers.